Hello everyone, welcome back to Das House. And today, instead of a German recipe, I'm going to be making banana bread. So this is a recipe that I got from my mother-in-law. And although she's German, I really don't think this is a German recipe. My wife makes it a lot. And my kids love this. And this is equally as good. You can do it in a loaf pan or you can do it as cupcakes. Cupcakes, obviously, your baking time is going to be a little different, but you'd have to keep an eye on them. I can't tell you right now how long it takes as cupcakes. I don't have that actually written down. And today I'm making a loaf pan. So just to let you know, you're going to need 2 to 3 ripe bananas. I am going to be using 3, as you can see. So the best thing to do is when you have bananas that are getting old, you really shouldn't be using fresh bananas for this recipe. So once you have bananas that are getting old, put them in the freezer. In the freezer, they're going to turn dark. That's fine. They can stay there, 2-3 months. It's a really great way to use your bananas. And when you're ready to bake, take them out of the freezer, let them defrost. Okay, it takes maybe an hour. As they're defrosting, they get really soft on the inside. So I'm going to peel this one open, which makes it really easy. Can you see? I mean, they're so soft. It makes it really easy to mash them. Okay, I'm just going to put this away. So, I mean, you really don't need to mash, but I'm going to do it anyway with a fork, just to get everything incorporated. Take that little piece of stem out. Let me put that down somewhere. Okay, so we're just going to mash this up. But this is such a great use for your bananas because I don't know if you're like me, but typically at least 1 or 2 of the bunch end up going brown. So just throw it in the freezer. You don't need to wrap them or anything. So we're just mashing this. As I'm doing this, I'll tell you the list of ingredients. So you're going to need half a cup of butter, 1 cup of sugar, 2 eggs, 2 to 3 bananas, ripe bananas, so I'm using 3, 2 cups of all-purpose flour, a teaspoon of baking soda, and if you want, half a cup of nuts. Pecans or walnuts are best. I don't always add them, but I will be today. Or you could leave out the nuts and add half a cup of chocolate chips. That's also really good. Or if you want to go to town, you can add the chocolate chips and the nuts. So these are mashed. Put that aside. Let's move over to the mixing machine. See if I can get you guys in frame. There we go. So in the machine now, I'm just gonna, you know what? I have to adjust my camera. So I'm gonna move it up. That's just flour. I just made something else. So there we go. So in there, I'm going to put my half a cup of butter. So let me think now. Half a cup, yeah, that's 1 stick. And we're going to add the 1 cup of sugar. And now we're going to let that cream. Actually, I'm going to turn that off. So I'm going to let this cream. Once it's creamed enough, I'll come back and we'll continue. All right, so the butter is creamed, the butter and sugar. Make sure your butter's at room temperature. So I'm just going to add in 1 egg and give this a really good strong whisk so that the sugar that's in the butter continues to melt. So let's just do that real quick. Just going to scrape down my bowl. Scrape down my bowl again. I don't know if this is happening to other guys out there with this particular machine. I mean, I love the machine, don't get me wrong. KitchenAid, don't, not sponsored, but I wonder if my attachment is for a smaller machine because it really doesn't get very close to the edge of the bowl at all. So I'm constantly having to scrape down the bowl. Okay, so let's go ahead and add in the second egg. Another strong whisk. This is really exciting, right? So, okay, there we go. So now we are going to add in, let me just lift this up. Let's add in our mashed bananas. Give that another whisk. So because the bananas are so soft, if you hadn't mashed them properly, this will have done it for you. All right. So now you want to sift in, look at this. See, sitting here in my beater, I've got a chunk of butter. So let's just lower it again and just give that a quick whisk in. All right, so now what you want to do is sift in your flour. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to move us back and I will put that there so that we can see what we're doing. So there's the batter. I'm going to get myself a big sieve. So, and into my 2 cups of flour, I'm going to put, so there's my flour, I'm going to put in my teaspoon of baking powder, just give that a little mix. And now we're going to sieve the flour into the batter. Just in case there's any lumps. Typically all-purpose flour really shouldn't have lumps. I mean, you see that little bit there? That's not a big deal. Even if you hadn't sifted, you'd be okay. So let's get that back on our machine. Put that back down. Start it on very slow because otherwise the flour will go all over the place. So once it starts incorporating, as it is now, you can speed it up. You can see it's pulling all the flour in. There we go. Just going to push that down again. It's a fairly thick dough. So at this stage, you can add your nuts. So I'll have a few leftover pecans. I don't know how you want to say that. Pecans. And I'm going to add in some walnuts that I crushed. So in total, you want about half a cup of nuts. So if you were using chocolate chips, use half a cup of chocolate chips. Let's give that a little whisk. Just going to push that down again. One more whisk. There we go. So that's done. I'm just going to clean off my beater. Just clean that out. And whatever I don't get out, you know where that's going. So, there we go. Alright, so I've got myself, let me see my measurements here, a 21, well this is going to be in centimeters, 21 by 11, I don't know what that is, oh, let me see if it's here on the other side. Yeah, it's 8.5 by 4.5 inches, the bun pan. And you want to grease your bun pan. So when you get your butter, if you're buying it in sticks, you know, you end up with the paper. And there's always butter on the paper. So just take this paper and rub that all over and into all the corners of your pan. And that way you don't have to use any extra butter. You've already got the butter that's on the paper. Why let it go to waste? So now we're going to just make sure everything in my batter is incorporated. I know you're not seeing what I'm doing, but I'm just mixing. There was a little bit of butter stuck at the bottom of my bowl. Okay. So now we're going to spoon this into our bun pan. Your oven should be preheating to 350. You're going to put this on the middle rack. And it should bake for 1 hour and 15 minutes to 1.5 hours. You're going to have to check. Typically I go by the color. Once it's a deep golden brown, it's typically done. But I'll let you know exactly how long I left it in the oven. So let's even this out. Get it into all the corners. And if I'm doing this as cupcakes, you don't need the cupcake liners. Well, I guess I wouldn't call them cupcakes. They would be technically be muffins, I think. So you don't need the liners. They're fine. Just grease your cupcake or muffin tin. All right, so there we go. That's it. This will now go into the oven. I'll let you know exactly how long. 350, middle rack, 1 hour and 15 to 1.5 hours, but I'll let you know exactly how long mine stayed in. Be back when it's out. All right, guys, so here we go. It's out of the oven. It's cooled off. I let it cool in the loaf pan for about, I'm gonna say 15-20 minutes, and then I was able to turn it out pretty easily. As you can see, it rose nicely. Let me show you. So there you go. It rose nicely, and it's a nice golden color. It's a little dark. I didn't hear the timer go off, so it probably could have come out maybe 5 minutes earlier. But in total, it was in for 1 hour and 15, so I probably could have taken it out at 1 hour 10. But the recipe actually calls for 1.5 hours, so it really depends on your oven. So keep an eye on it. And let's just slice into this. So the crust for the outside is usually nice and crisp, and then the inside is nice and moist. It's still very hot. I don't know if you can see the steam rising. So yeah, there you go. Give this recipe a try. Like I said, you can do it without the nuts. You can do it with chocolate chips. You can do it with nothing. You can do it with both. So give it a try. It's pretty easy. It's a great way to use up those browning bananas. Just throw them in the freezer when it starts to happen, and a month, 2 months, 3 months later, you can pull it out, whip this up. It's great as cupcakes as well. And so give this recipe a like, give the video a like. Please subscribe to my channel and bon appetit.